Hello, my name is Gloria. I live in Geneva, Switzerland, and I'm here to share my world with you. I'm here to share my daily habits with you. Bonjour, je m'appelle Gloria, j'habite à Genève, en Suisse, et je suis ici pour partager mon monde avec vous. What would I like to share with you? Well, last weekend I had a wonderful experience learning to write because I've always wanted to write a novel. I love writing, I love words, I like exploring the meanings of words, I like reading the dictionary like a book, I like playing with words, with their meanings. I've always loved writing. But this time I decided I wanted to explore this world of writing even more. So I was lucky enough to find a writing workshop this weekend in Geneva. It was a 2-day workshop divided into 2 half days, or that ran over 2 half days. It ran from Saturday, November 8th to Sunday, November 9th, 2025. Wait, I just want to get the program of this creative writing workshop to show you. Here it is. I'm not sure whether you can see it because of the light. Maybe there's just too much light. Yeah. Anyway, so this was the program of the workshop. It ran from Saturday 8th November to Sunday 9th November 2021. It was in French, so the original creative writing workshop was conducted completely totally in French. So here is a translation of this workshop. Here's a translation of my first impressions of the first exercise of this workshop, and the workshop was entitled Ode to the Daily Habits. Okay, praise to the daily habits. And this creative writing workshop in French was conducted by Gaël, or led by Gaël Joss, from 1:30 to 5:30 on each of the half days. Okay, so that's the program. So yes, I've shown you the program. This workshop was led by writer Gaël Joss, and this creative writing workshop in French took place at the House of Rousseau and Literature in Geneva's Old Town in Switzerland. And really, I advise you, if you want to, or you feel like writing, or if you want to learn how to write, or if you want to start to learn how to write, but you're hesitant for whatever reason, sometimes because of worry, sometimes because of fear, anxiety, uncertainty, well, to just really throw yourself into, this exercise, I would really advise you to find a writing workshop in your locality, that is where you live, and start from there, because my experience was really great. It was the first time I had enrolled in a writing workshop, and I was really happy with the results. We were a group of 13 students or interested individuals at this creative writing workshop in French. There was only one man surrounded by 12 women. That's telling, right? I mean, why would only one man be interested in a workshop on a Saturday and a Sunday afternoon? And why were there 12 strong women there? Yeah, that's interesting. And then in addition, we were lucky to have a real writer, not a wannabe, a real writer, someone who had actually written a book and whose book can be purchased at the Payot bookshop. So this is to say, she's a writer, a female writer with a lot of writing experience behind her. That's proof that, she knows, or she knew what she was talking about, right? So it's true that since it was my first time undertaking such a feat, I went with an open mind. a truly open mind to learn, and I really did learn a lot there. I want to find my notepad, so this is my notepad, and then I'll try to describe my experience there at this workshop. Okay, so I'll look for my notepad. I will look for the notepad. I have found the notepad. So voila, and afterwards I'll come back to you. So I'm back. Here's my notebook, my spiral notebook. I'm going to try to write down what happened. Okay, so let's start from the very beginning. The first exercise the author had us do, the first exercise or the first assignment of this writing workshop led by Gaël Joss, was to take a book, any book in French or English, since this is a translation into English of the original text in French. So I'm looking for a book in French. So here is the book in French. All these books here are in English, but supposedly she took out an English book. Wait, I'll look for a book if I can find one in French. Okay, so I found a book and I choose a book at random. So this book is entitled "Can We Still Eat Bananas?" Okay, it's a book I came across by Mike Berners-Lee. And then the first assignment she gave us yesterday during this writing workshop was for each and every one of us to find a word. So, you pick any page and you just pick any word at random, and then you pass the book on to the next person. The person opens any page at random and picks any word at random. So this is how the first assignment went. And and then the first assignment she gave us yesterday during the writing workshop was for each of us to find a word, just to pick out one word at random from a page in a book that she passed around the table. And after that exercise, where each of us opened the same book and looked for a word at random, and then she had us compose or have a story. She had us compose or have us write a story using each of the 13 words that each of the 13 participants picked from the book at random. So the game is that, so this is the game. The game is that you take out any book, you pass that book around, okay, from person to person around the table, and each person in turn opens the book, randomly looks for a single word, and then everyone else notes the word down, including the person who suggested the word. So I hope you get it. Next we'll have a list. That is, there will be a list of 13 words in our particular case, as there were 13 participants in the workshop. The words that each participant proposed, to add to this list of 13 words. Then, for example, in our example, she took out a book, I don't know which one. She had each of us, these 13 participants in the workshop, compose a text with these 13 written words. Therefore, the 13 written words proposed by the participants as follows: euphoric, force, empty, quickly, boat, pregnant, nanny, either in singular or in plural, ray, as in the rays of the sun, to soap up or down, as to wash up or down, it's a verb, tornado, as in storm, infusion, as in tea, hot tea, income, salary, revenue, thatched cottage or cottage, and passage. So we have 13 words, and then with these 13 words, she gave each of us half an hour to suggest or write a story. It could be a poem, it could be a dialogue, it could be prose, anything. We just had to use all 13 words, not just in one sentence, but in a story. And it's funny because at the end of this exercise, after the time she gave us to write a story using all 13 sentences, one of the participants in this workshop used all the 13 words in one single sentence, hence creating one long, complex sentence. I did differently. I told a story, and then I'm going to read you the story I created with these 13 words. So here's my story where I tried to use all these 13 words. So first, my story, there was no title because I didn't have time to write one up, but I'll read to you what I propose as a story using all 13 words. So here's my story. I am standing by the boat, ready to get on board and to take my first job as a nanny. This is the information I received. This family lives in a cottage. The mistress, that is to say the mother, is pregnant. She already has 2 other children, 2 boys with lots of energy, lots of strength, perhaps a little too much for her. So this mother needs reinforcement, and that reinforcement is me, the nanny. It's hard to describe how I'm feeling right now. A little sad to be leaving my own home and children to take care of other people's children, but at the same time a little euphoric to be able to live and discover something totally new and different. But at the same time, as a mother, I also feel empty inside. I also feel a little guilty about leaving my own children at home to earn some money, additional income in another household with another family. But this is just for a short time. It would only be for the next 6 months, to let the lady of the house have some respite and a few months of peace and quiet with her newborn. There are the rays of sunshine. Is that a good sign after yesterday's storm? Upon arriving at my new home, the first thing I want to do, or I hope to do after the introductions and niceties, is to have a nice hot cup of herbal tea, of course, and quickly jump in the shower to soak myself up and soothe my tired body. So that was my story using all 13 words, and then the lady gave her feedback on each student's or participant's story. And then for me, she said, "Oh, Gloria, your story is almost finished." So what I'm going to try to do is to continue with the story, to develop the story a little bit more. But this is just to give you a little taste of what might inspire you to experience a writing workshop for yourselves, because this was my first experience in one. It was in French and I'm an English speaker, and it was truly a wonderful experience that I recommend you all to try out for yourselves. So why not look for a writing workshop in your own area where you live and sign up to discover your creative ability to write? Because from what I understood from the first writing workshop is that we are all writers, because our minds are always filled with stories and images and words. So instead of just keeping these images and thoughts, all these daydreams in our heads, why not grab a notebook like I did and a pen and start writing down everything that comes to mind? That's the first lesson I learned from this workshop. And then if you want to see what happens next, you'll have to follow me to perhaps understand how you yourself can begin your own journey at your own pace to become a writer, to start to write. So there you have it. That's the experience I had from my first creative writing workshop, which I attended yesterday at the Maison de Rousseau et de la Littérature in the old town of Geneva in Switzerland, or if I translate that from French to English, is yesterday at the House of Rousseau and Literature in the old town of Geneva in Switzerland. Tomorrow I'll share the other lessons I learned from this workshop, and I'd also like to keep this conversation about my first creative writing workshop in French. initially because it helps me improve my French. It also helps me start not only to speak in French but also to think in French. This will help me improve my competence and my skills in speaking French, but also my confidence to speak French freely with anyone, with you, for example. So there you go. So that was just my first impressions of my first writing workshop, which I attended yesterday, Sunday, November 9th, and Saturday, November 8th, 2025, at the Creative Writing Workshop organized by the House of Rousseau and Literature in the old town of Geneva and led by the writer Gaël Joss. So if you're interested in following my journey or my experience of attending my first creative writing workshop in French, follow me. So I think it's a good time to stop this talk about my first experience of attending a creative writing workshop, and then tomorrow we can continue with this conversation about this discovery if you're interested. So there you have it. If you're interested, I'll tell you everything that happened during my first writing workshop. I'm going to try to keep this conversation initially in French, and then I'll translate the French text into English, which I am doing right now in this write-up. So instead of translating everything from the French version into English, maybe I'll do the same exercise, but this time I'll use an English book instead of a French book and try to recount the experiences as I had attending this workshop in English. But for now, I'll stick with French and then we'll see what happens. So for now, what I'm doing is from the French write-up of my impressions of my first creative writing workshop in French, then I'll translate it into English, and so the English version will be a translation of the French. Voila. So this, for example, is the translation of the French write-up I did, compiling or jotting down my first impressions of the first lesson I learned from my first creative writing workshop in French. So if you're interested, follow me on YouTube. Maybe I'll post something on Instagram and then on LinkedIn, on Facebook, but everything you will find in YouTube. There you go. We'll see. So if you're interested, follow me and we'll continue this discussion. We'll have a conversation, and at the end of this experience, the goal is for me to consider writing a book. Yes, publishing a novel. Why not? Why not me? And the goal is also that if you follow my journey in particular and you want to become a writer yourself, that is to write a book, your own book. Why not start writing your own? Because every story is unique, every experience is unique. So even if we follow the same program to become writers, your story always remains unique, individual, and your story belongs to you. It'll always remain unique, personal, individual, and that's it. So if you're interested, follow me and we'll discover a talent, a skill, a gift that maybe we all have within us until now, but until now we've never had the time or the courage to discover them. So if you're interested, follow me and we'll discover a talent, a skill, a gift that maybe we all have within us, but until now we've never had the time or the courage to discover them. That's it. So why not try exploring that and see what we can do with words? Okay, so there you have it. I think it's a good time to end this conversation because it's starting to get very, very long, and that's not the goal. But the goal is that I want you to join me on this particular journey, to set an objective, to push me to write until such a time where I feel confident and ready to write a book, which I will then share with you these stories, my history. Okay, so we'll stop here for now and then we'll meet maybe tomorrow, okay? In the meantime, take good care of yourself and enjoy life, enjoy your good health, do everything you've always wanted to do. Pursue your passions, explore and develop your talents, and then we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, so until then, bye bye. Do take care.